wish I got to film this last night. I was looking cute yesterday, but technology was against me. I look really tired. Or I was late to bed, very early to rise, and yeah, we have a full house today. We have a friend having a sleepover, and then we have my other friend's daughter. I'm babysitting for him, so I'm trying to squeeze this video in before it gets too loud in the house. I have planned out more of my TBR for the year because I'm going to be participating in a book club. I'm going to be also participating again in Chantel Reed's annual reading challenge, where the goal is to read your shelf challenge. This is one of my favorite challenges lately because the whole idea is to read the books that you already own. And then also my personal goals are to continue reading books from around the world. I don't really set out to specifically read from a specific country, but I am being aware and tracking the books that I have on my shelves and what countries they are from. I also want to make sure I'm reading from a diverse genre. I also want to read more classics, and I think that the book club that I've decided to read along with is going to help me make sure I'm reading a lot more classics this year. I also want to finish series. I have a lot of series that I had started and I just haven't finished, and I want to start some new series, but I feel overwhelmed and I feel kind of guilty starting new series when I have series I have yet finished. I'm also concerned about waiting too long in between reading the next in the series, because the longer time passes, the more you kind of forget what happened and like some of the details and stuff. So that is another goal. I'm going to show you my Notion page right here. I have taken all of these lists and I have figured out a way to make them all work together. Obviously the 23 and 2023, you can imagine you probably have to pick 2 from that list each month. Some of the prompts for the Read Your Own Shelves book challenge, I figured out a way to make them coincide with book club picks and my other lists. So I just thought that it would be kind of fun to show you what I've come up with. I'm going to leave the links to the hosts of the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge and the book club. So the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, again, as I said, is aimed at reading all of the books that you own on your shelves already. This year, her prompts kind of build off of each other. Last year, you could jump around if you wanted to. You kind of can't jump around because your picks are based off of the previous month's pick. And I think that it was kind of designed to where you can't really choose ahead of time. But I went ahead and designed it so that I could pick for the whole year. And not be stumped later, and I can make sure that I'm reading the books I really want to read and not just picking up a book because it fits and maybe it's not one I'm super excited about, if that makes sense. I wanted to show you what it all looked like in Notion. So I'm not screen recording at this moment because I'm going to be doing the screen recording on my phone, which I'm also filming on, but what you are going to see first is the gallery, and these are different challenges. These were designed by a creator. I don't know how to do the coding to make these work. These little bars will fill up so you can see the percentage of how far you've read. Next, you're going to see the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, and each month is a drop down toggle, and then under that toggle I have put the challenge and then the book that I chose for that challenge. So I did that for every single month in the Read Your Shelf Challenge. And again, I've done that for the Game of Tomes book club. The Game of Tomes book club is hosted by Emmy and Carolyn Marie Reads. The next list I have here is the 23 books in 2023. I've just set up a simple table for this one. This was kind of as I was organizing where I'm slotting these books in every month. I would put on the side that I have assigned that book to a month. And finally, the 4th list is the series that I would like to read. I have set a color code at the very top under a toggle. Ones in orange are series that I want to finish. The yellow are ones that I don't think I'm going to finish reading, but I'm still working on them, and I would like to continue working on them. And then in the gray are series that I'd like to start. Of finishing some of these series so I can kind of clear my brain and start new series confidently and not feel guilty that I should be reading this other series. Okay, so here now you can see all the ones in orange. I have the Throne of Glass series, and then I have every book listed under that toggle that I would need to read to finish the series. Go ahead and get a cup of coffee before we start the next portion of this video, where we're actually going to look at my month by month, and you can see how I've squished these books in. And the kids are getting a little bit rowdy upstairs, so cross fingers we can make it through this video. Again, I apologize for all the chattering upstairs. We're just gonna have to deal with it. Let's go ahead and get into the monthly overlook. Sample of my year in books. So that was with the intention that this is probably can change. Some of these are going to change. Mostly my 3, 4s, and 5s potentially could change. I made kind of a key as to which numbers under each toggle are going to kind of represent. Some of them are not going to stick because 1 and 2 can be the same book, and sometimes 2 and 3 are the same book, so it's not 100%, but it's a good. So the first one is going to be the Read Your Shelf Challenge book. The second one is the Game of Tomes book. The third one is the 23 books for 2023. And then the fourth is going to be the series to finish book. And then 5 is going to be any other books that I feel I can squeeze in there. So why would I do this? I think it actually really helps to stay focused. Sometimes you just really are not in the mood, and that is really unfortunate. But I think that if you can look ahead and be excited, and you can find why, you can remember what you're setting your goals to, and you can be like, oh, okay, I already know what I'm reading. Like, I'm hoping that will really help keep me motivated on reading these books for the month of January. First one is Anna Karenina by Leah Tolstoy. This is going to meet the challenge for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. Prompt was to choose a book that started with the letter A. So that's fit this perfectly. I'm so glad it worked out because I have been planning to read this book for months. This has actually been recommended as a really good book to read during the winter months. So I'm like, let's start it in January. Let's start off the year with a bang and a really good classic that's hopefully going to be a new favorite. I also put this book on my 23 and 23, and then it's also going to satisfy Around the World book as it takes place in Russia. Second book is going to be Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. I don't actually own this book, but I almost purchased a copy of this book at Second and Charles, and I actually got a gift card to Second and Charles. Oh my god, I am so sorry. She's very loud voice. The third and fourth book I put to read in January are books that I'm actually already started, but I would like to finish them, and that is The Snow Child and Game of Thrones. And stop this video right now and wait for the kids to make their way back upstairs. I know they're grabbing some cereal or whatever, so we will continue when they are not yelling in the kitchen, where it specifically echoes as well. Okay, now I'm the devil because I said, no, you can't play the Oculus. So now my cat is rolling, now the kitten is rolling around ornaments all over the living room. Let's move on to February. So the first pick for the Read Your Shelf Challenge is to read a book that has a complementary color than the previous month's book. Let's try this again. Ooh, so every time I'm like, okay, they're settled, we're good. All of a sudden, blah, 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 blah. The first pick for February is Hero of Ages. This one, again, I have been meaning to read this past year, but I just never made it. This is also my pick for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. The challenge was to pick a complementary color of the previous book. The previous book was black and white, and it has that yellow or the purple flower on it, but I went ahead and went with the black and white themes. If you picked black, white would be complementary and vice versa. This also satisfies goals for books that I own and a series to finish. This book will actually finish the first series that I would like to finish. So Book for book 2 for the book club is a book that I don't own, and it is called Once There Was War by John Steinbeck, 23 books in 2023. That is A Little Life by Hana Yanagihara. So this book is kind of intimidating and a little bit scary. I don't usually I don't watch intentionally sad news. I've heard it's just so sad. Apparently this one just keeps hitting you in the feels every other page. And I think I went through kind of a slump where there was just a lot of books that it just wasn't really, it made me feel nothing. I just didn't care about the book, and I was just like, I want to feel something. And that's where I was emotionally when I picked up this book. Is Snow by Orhan Pamuk. This is a book that I've been wanting to read for quite a long time. I would have preferred to read this in January, but I was like, January's really full up, so let's put this where it's a little bit more manageable. All right, in March, we are going to start off reading David Copperfield. I'm so excited for this one as well. I read my first Dickens novel last year. This actually is going to satisfy 23 books in 2023, my book club pick, as well as it isn't one child, it's the other. So for the Read Your Shelf challenge, the challenge was to read the next letter in the alphabet, from your title. So we have H for Hero of Ages, so the next letter in the alphabet is I. And I don't actually have very many books that start with I, which sounds crazy. It's like starting a book with the or a. No, apparently I don't really have a lot of books that start with I. I did have one other called I, Coriander. It's like a middle grade book. I just remembered it, but I wanted to really make sure that I'm reading books I'm really excited about. So what I ended up doing is probably kind of a roundabout way of getting my I in there. It's the Illuminae Files #2 Gemini. Plus, this satisfies a book in a series that I'm trying to finish, and this month is going to be the final book of this series, and that would be 2 series completed in the first 3 months of the year, which would be great. It would be really, really cool if I could do that. Book, the 4th book, I included Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is a book I actually got in a contest many years ago. I was so excited about it. It's like, I'm cracking that book open right away, and here we are a couple of years later and I haven't done it yet. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it this year. I've put it on my 23 books in 2023 list. To April, the first book is going to be Catcher in the Rye. This is a book I don't have a physical copy of. I was just gonna read a copy of this book and not purchase a copy. I actually read this book many years ago, and it was the bane of my existence. I hated this book so much with a fiery passion. I think that this book is what kind of made me think, ew, I don't like classics. And this was really before I was a reader, and I definitely think that I look at reading books and even difficult books much differently, and I can see the true messages that the authors are trying to convey and appreciate unlikable characters more now that I'm older. So I am excited. I've decided to turn around my thinking on this book and think that this is a really good opportunity to really see if my feelings hold true still, if I still don't like this book, or if I can learn to like it. I know that some people love this book, and it was like an all-time favorite of their childhood. And I'm actually thinking that my son's getting older, and he kind of likes books like that. Like, he read The Outsiders for school recently. He says he absolutely loves it. He really wants me to read it. Hopefully my son will also read this book and really enjoy it as well. This is the book club pick, and I also made it work for the Read Your Shelf challenge. The challenge was really easy. It was just to read a different genre from the previous month, so that worked. So the second book is a book for the 23 books in 2023. Thankfully, Catcher in the Rye is quite a short book, so I can pick a couple bigger books. The next book is Don Quixote by Miguel Cervantes. This book is big. Even though it is big, it is supposed to be pretty lighthearted, funny, and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to this book. Everybody says it's a phenomenal book, and I'm gonna absolutely love it. So this book was on my 23 books for 2023, so I was able to squeeze it in on this month. This month is perfect. With some of these really big books that were on my 23 of 23 list, I wanted to separate them for every 2 months. Just in case I get behind and I don't quite finish it, I wanted another month to kind of play catch up on it. So that's kind of how I had that in mind as I was placing these books for each month on Anxious People. Finally, the next one is another kind of big book, but I thought I needed a fantasy, is Rule of Wolves. This one is 23 books in 2023, also a series. And if I read this one, I will have finished 3 series. This will also finish up all the books in the whole Grisha verse. In May, for the book club, we are going to be reading, I'm really nervous about this one, Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and this also will satisfy the book for the Read Your Bookshelf challenge, because the challenge was to read a book that was longer than the book from the previous month, which worked out great because Catcher in the Rye is fairly short, so that was easy to satisfy. Next book is Of Human Bondage. I actually wanted to read this book for a really long time. This is also on my Read Your 23 books in 2023. I think it's supposed to be like a coming of age story, actually. Don't quote me on that. Next 3 books are all kind of going towards reading down my series, and it pangs me that I have to wait so late in the year to start this book. But it is a very big book. I've got Queen of Shadows on the list. This is the 4th book in the Throne of Glass series. I want to finish this series. This is like a must-finish series of the year. Next 2 and final books in the Arc of a Scythe series, Toll and Thunderhead. And this would be kind of daunting, except for the fact they are young adult science fiction and they read fairly quickly. I think it'll be okay. I don't know. June, the first book for the book club pick is undecided yet, so I just have a placeholder in there. There are 3 options to which their viewers can vote on. I think there is a Thomas Hardy book, Jude the Obscure, which I own that book as well. It's not too entirely intimidating. Then there's another book I really don't have any interest in reading, I remember. And then there's a really long book. Oh, The Count of Monte Cristo. I am interested in reading that book as well. The second book is for the Read Your Bookshelf challenge, and the challenge was to read a book that has half the letters of the previous month's books, which was Brothers Karamazov. So I had to pick a book with a title with 8 letters in it. So I ended up with Pachinko. And this is actually a book that will also satisfy reading around the world because it takes place in Korea. The next 3 books I'm not going to pull from my shelves, and they all go with the same series. So I didn't want to just completely destroy my shelves. They're already looking a mess right now. It's going to take me a long time to put everything back together after filming. I'm going to binge read the rest of the Throne of Glass series. That is books 5, 6, and 7. I will have almost finished. There's still the novella series. There's a book that's got like I think 3 novellas in it called The Assassin's Blade, and it could be read after book 3. It's not super imperative that I read it. For the month of July, the book club pick is a book called Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I do not own this book. Read Your Shelf challenge was to read a book from a different country than the previous month's book, which was Pachinko. This book satisfies both of those challenges. The next 3 books, again, are to read down those series. The next 2 books in the Crown of Feathers series, I only grabbed the first book, or the second book technically. So I've got Crown of Feathers number 2 and then Crown of Feathers number 3. These are quite big books. Again, they're fairly quick reads though. We are starting the Shadowhunter series again with Chain of Gold. Those are 3 really big books. All right, for the month of August, the first book is The Awakening, which satisfies both the book club pick. This is by Kate Chopin, and Chopin? I think the host pronounced it Chopin. It is the book club pick, and then also it satisfies the Read Your Shelf challenge, which is to read a book from the same genre of Orlando, which I'm not 100% sure it's the exact same genre, but it's a fiction if you want to go that route. But it's also like a modern classic. I figured that worked. We're gonna go with it. The other 2 books, Chain of Iron, and then the 3rd book, which is going to be released soon. Actually, I think it comes out, does it come out in February? The third book in the series comes out in February. The last 2 books in this month, I put the rest of this trilogy. I always think that I'm gonna have all this time to read in the summer months, but then I end up really not having a lot of time because we end up doing a lot of things. This summer, I'm hoping that we're gonna get out and do a lot of nature walks, a lot of activities again. Hey guys, it is actually a new day. Something happened. I was editing my video and lo and behold, I'm missing the whole last 4 months of the year for this video. So also for the month of August, I put in that I was going to read Lolita, and somehow I put this book for 23 books in 2023, but then it was also intended to be, I know what I did. Okay, and then it's also actually supposed to be for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge to read the same genre as Orlando, which is, yeah, that's right. Okay, because The Awakening, my bad, The Awakening is not actually the same genre as Orlando, but Lolita is. So Lolita is going to be the pick for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge for August. And it's also 23 in 2023 book. So then now moving on to September. So the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge for September was to flip to the 50th page in the previous book, which was Lolita. And I worked really hard to try to find a specific word that could lead me to Moby Dick. And I found it. It was the word fish. So that works. So in September, the first book is going to be Moby Dick for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. For the book club pick, we're going to read Jane Austen's Northanger Abbey. And then the next 2 books are for the 23 in 2023 challenge. And that is going to be David Mitchell's The Bone Clocks and The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. All right, moving on to October. The first book is for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, and it says to pick the first letter of the author's last name from the previous book, which was Moby Dick, which would be M for Melville, is The Miniaturist. The second book for the book club is Wuthering Heights, and I actually, when I first did this video, I had all the books out, but I put them all away, and this is a book that I need a step stool to get because it's on the top shelf up there, so it's here in spirit. That is Wuthering Heights. I cannot tell you how excited I am that the book club is going to be reading this book. This has definitely been a book I've been wanting to read for a really long time, so there's that. The third book is to satisfy 23 in 2023, as well as a book for a series it's a continuing series, and that is Queen of the Damned. This is a book I've misplaced. I don't know where I put it. It's around here somewhere. But that is Queen of the Damned. This is the third book in the Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. Number 4 is going to be Storm of Swords. This is the second book in the Game of Thrones series. I guess it's not called the Game of Thrones series, but that's how we all know it. Moving on to November and December, there's only a couple books in these spots. I didn't fully flush them completely out because it's so far in the year. I mean, the first one for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge was to just pick a book that's from a different time period from the previous book. So that was pretty easy. The Miniaturist takes place in 1600s. The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is also actually for 23 and 23 book because I just wanted to read another book by Kazuo Ishiguro, so there we go. Then for the book club, we are going to be reading Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. And then finally in December, I only have one book. It satisfies both the book club pick and the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. The Read Your Bookshelf Challenge was to pick a book that has approximately the same amount of page numbers as the previous month's book. So that is Yevgeny Onegin by Alexander Pushkin. This is also a book in my 23 in 2023 as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.